Hey guys, Ashley D. Will here. I wanted to go over a topic about releasing children real briefly. I was speaking with a friend recently and she asked me, she said, "How are you so calm and confident when I ask you about your children and you tell me about them?" And first thing I said was I didn't know that I was being calm and confident. But if I am in any way, then that is because of my confidence in the Lord. It has nothing to do with me, absolutely zero. So having said that, I want to go over just quickly the things that I mentioned to her in our conversation. Again, this is about releasing your children once they get to be old enough, and even when they're young and they start to go to school, those first steps of independence away from you. How do you slowly release them? And then ultimately, as an adult, they can go do whatever they want. So the first thing I told her is that Ezekiel 18:4 says, God says, "I own every soul. I'm the owner of all souls." And so the Lord has full ownership over every person, over me, over you, and over all of our children. We never own them. They're never really ours. Why? Because we're just given stewardship of our children while they're under our wing, while we have influence over them, while we're paying the mortgage and they're dependent on us. But as they get older, we release them because they were never ours to begin with. The more we release them, the more the Lord is able to do his thing with them. We're also told in Psalm 107:1 to give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. And so I thank the Lord for my children, and I thank him for what he's going to do in their lives and what he's already doing now. I could be all stressed and be praying desperate prayers for them, but what I've done now the last few years is just say, you know what, we've been through all this before, and I know in the end of this prayer request, I'm just going to be saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So can we just fast forward to the thank you? I'm thanking you for what you're doing and what you're already going to do. So that's where that comes from. God has good plans. His plan for each one of my children is very good, and it's much better than my plan could ever be. And he tells us that in Jeremiah 29:11, that his plans are good. Focus. My focus must be on the Lord. If I'm focusing on my children and worrying about them and meddling in their lives and trying to control them or whatever, my focus is not on Christ. And Hebrews 12:2 tells us to keep our eyes fixed on the Lord. Another factor in all this is humility. 1 Peter 5:6 tells us to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. And when you are humble, you know that you're not in control. You know that you are not God. You know that your plans are not the best. You know that he is God and you're not. And so the humility plays a big factor in this process of releasing children. Another point is boundaries. Galatians 6:7 says, "As a man sows, that shall he reap." And so the boundaries that I'm using on myself go in accordance with that. If I'm enmeshed with my children, then I'm going to partially reap what they're sowing. So I have a strong boundary between me and my children so that they reap what they sow and I reap what I sow. Okay, these are just the laws of the universe, and it helps keep a very healthy relationship. That goes to reaping and sowing, which I just mentioned, Galatians 6:7. Worry. Psalm 37:8 says that basically that worry and fretting over things leads only to evil. Only to evil. That means that worry can't lead to anything good. And so I'll refuse to worry. I have refused that, and I have taken that off the menu. So I've taken that off and I don't do it anymore. Instead, I'll pray for them. I'll thank God for them. And that's not an issue. Trust. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart." And so my trust in the Lord for my children is greater than my trust in my children and their decision making. Believe me. But I know that he is greater than they are. And he that is in them is greater than he that is in the world. So that's where my trust comes from. I do have a common sense thing that I do with situations. A lot of times I prepare for the worst and I hope for the best. And so that's kind of what I've done with my children too. Distractions, again, the children can become a very big distraction when you're worried about them, when you're meddling in their lives, when you're trying to kind of interfere in things, and it's just a problem. It's a distraction, and Hebrews 12:2 tells us to keep our eyes fixed on Christ, and in Luke 10, Martha was the queen of distractions and manipulation, and all of this evil creeps in when you take your eyes off the Lord. And then lastly, Revelation 9:11 says, the Lord is faithful and true. And so I trust his faithfulness because he has been so faithful to me. I know that he will do his will in their lives. And this is not to say I never think about them. I never pray for them. No, I do think about them. I do pray for them. I do keep in touch with them. But I'm not overbearing. I'm not controlling. I do not meddle. I'm not a micromanager. I refuse to do any of those things. My children know everything they need to know. I've taught them everything I need that I've learned, and they know everything they need to know. The only question is, are they going to do what they know is best? And that's another whole issue. And that goes with their maturing in the faith and maturing as adults. And that is not my process to oversee. That's the Lord's process to oversee. So that's kind of where I am in releasing my children, and that's what I told my friend the other day, and she really appreciated it, so I thought this might be helpful for somebody out there. Okay, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.